What's up everyone, you're watching the Downshift channel. My name is Adam. If you are new to the channel, then of course you know what this video is about, and if you want to see the build then make sure you hit the subscribe button. I do make a conscious effort to try and reply to all of the comments regardless of how silly some of them are. So if you've got anything to say then leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. I'm going to treat this video as a fresh start. This car, we've done a few videos on it as the build started, and I don't really want to go into it, but for unforeseen circumstances the car had to be put into storage for some time, and I just don't want the drama. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get on with my car, and maybe this whole thing was a blessing in disguise because we've now got this space. So let's just talk about the car. This is my O2. I just refer to it as O2 because most people know them as the 2002 because that was the most common model. This is going to be that extensively modified that it doesn't really reflect an original car, so I just refer to it as O2. I'm going to be 100% honest. I bought the car about 3 years something ago, and I was in over my head straight away. I purchased the car sight unseen and just told the guy to throw it on a trailer and send it, and I don't really regret it, but I could, looking back, have took advice of some people and bought a cleaner car and started and probably been much further ahead right now. I don't really want to go into the reasons why it's took so long, but I still stand by the fact I think it's a good place to be spending my money and time. It's a car I'm very passionate about, so yeah. I guess really the standout feature at the moment is the Schnitzer body kit, which is nicely held on with a bit of duct tape at the minute. I originally bought a turbo kit because that was sort of the car that spiked my interest in the O2s. The first time I laid eyes on one with the air dam and the bolted on arches and the stickers, and I couldn't believe it was a production road car. It blew my mind, if I'm honest, and my initial thought was to go down that route. And the more I researched and looked into these cars, I started to find out about the Group 2 cars and the Group 5 cars, and they were just insane. I'd never seen anything like it before. So I think that was what really inspired me to make a change, and for me and Liam to jump in the car and drive to the Nürburgring to pick up this body kit. And I believe it's sort of, there was a big decision when I bought this car, and it was whether to save money and buy an E30 M3 or to build my dream O2. And at the minute I decided to go down this route, and I believe that the swollen square arches sort of were probably what inspired the E30 to look that way. So I've got no regrets to my decision, and hopefully one day I'll be able to have an E30 and this, so let's see how that goes. As you can see, there's already been a lot of work done to the car. I'd already mentioned, but to be honest I am actually quite glad that I bought a bad example, because I'm completely torn the car apart and changed everything anyway. And I kind of think that sometimes it's better to get a bad example and to make everything right yourself rather than buy something that someone else has done, because a lot of the time there's people who either they don't know what they're doing or they'll bodge things up to make a profit on a car. And especially some of these older cars, it could have seen 40 plus years worth of bodges. I found some with this car myself, and I've seen some with some very expensive restored cars that under the shell are not quite as good as they should be. I'm quite glad with my decision as long as it's took. Front to back, the A-pillars have been repaired inside, the inner wings, the wing mounts, the rifle butts, which are the upper wing mounts. Inside the car, the floor pans, the inner and outer sills have been changed for OEM BMW sills. So there's been a lot of work obviously so far, and Further back into the car you can see the roll cage. It's a 6-point cage which has been added to and gusseted. Once that's welded in place, there's going to be some plates added and dimple dyed, which it looks cool, but it adds a lot of rigidity and makes the shell very stiff. So I'm looking forward to that because chassis technology's moved on a lot in the past 40 years, so reinforcing this is going to do it a world of good. From the rear end back over, because I'm adding so much power to this car to what it had in the factory, I've gone for a E30 rear axle, which basically the mounts are shortened and moved in over to correct where the wheel sits in the arch, but also it allows you to have a wider track and to run the medium case diff, which can hold way more power than what the O2 one can. I'm pretty confident the O2 diff would have just exploded straight away. That's the rear end of the drivetrain. Obviously that also allows you to run E30 brakes and the parts become much more available and easy. From an aesthetic point of view, I think that with the kit, obviously the car's exaggerated, it's been widened significantly. I think that the aerodynamics of the Group 5 era are very interesting. It was when things were blown out to the extreme. I think like the companies were really starting to develop aerodynamics on cars. To take a look at the Capris from Zaxxpeed, the O2s from BMW Motorsport, and then the Porsche 935, and everything was just so exaggerated and massive, and it looks cool, but more importantly it serves a purpose. So I think this car, with the extra power, I've seen videos of other cars with a lot more power, and they just look so lively without the aero because they're not really designed around having that much power. So I think adding an underfloor diffuser with a flat floor, it'll basically that'll give ground effect, which adds downforce. So basically it acts as a venturi as your diffuser curves up from the floor, and it accelerates the air underneath the car. So that's one thing I'm going to do. And another, on top of this small spoiler, there will be a wing. We're going to be making that, so I think that'll be quite interesting video. So make sure you stick around to watch that one. So maybe if you're watching this video, you're a big BMW enthusiast, or you love the O2. This might upset you. This is a Honda K20 engine, and this is what's going in the car. Before you click off or start pressing the dislike button or leaving comments about how I'm the worst person on the internet or how the videos gave you AIDS or something like people like to on YouTube, allow me to explain myself. This is a very, very good engine, and what it does is allows me to run the power that I want reliably and make it much more drivable on the road, and more importantly, for me to build the original engine to the spec to make the power that I can make with this, if it's even possible, would cost an insane amount of money, and it would probably need rebuilding every 5 minutes, so it doesn't really make any sense. I'd understand from a heritage point of view if I was restoring an original Schnitzer race car to go with that M12 engine, but I don't really want to pay 50 grand for an engine that needs rebuilding every 5,000 miles. So what this does is allows me to run a 2-litre engine, 16 valve, very similar to the Schnitzer engine, and obviously with the VTEC it makes it more drivable. There's a lot more low end power as opposed to the old race engines, and to make it sound like an old race engine, I have some GEMV ITBs. So imagine throttle bodies, cams, a good exhaust. I could maybe make 260, 270 horsepower with stock compression, which is probably the route that I'll go down at first, because I really want to get the car built and drive it and become more familiar with it. But these engines, naturally aspirated, are capable of 400 horsepower if you want to be absolutely insane, but again, it then needs rebuilding very often. If you then up the displacement, there's actually an out-the-box example available with 500 horsepower from a 2.4, and that's a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. Like that, it's insane. Like, it really is insane. These are great engines, and yes, it's not a BMW. Engine awards and history, yes, BMW makes some of the best engines in the world, but what they don't make is some of the best 4-cylinder engines in the world, because their cars are bigger and they need bigger engines. So from the modern era, there isn't really anything available. The E30 M3 engine has become very expensive and difficult to justify, really, and to be honest, doesn't really make any more power than what this does. In fact, this makes more, and very easily. So Honda, coming up soon, I'm planning on mounting the Honda engine to an RX-8 gearbox, and I've got a clutch set up, and I'll be explaining exactly how that's being done. So that alone is definitely worth watching for people, because if you want a rear-wheel drive K-swap in anything, then this setup will apply. The throttle bodies, everyone likes throttle bodies, let's be honest, so they're a good thing to see. I've got some other very special parts. It's been fortunate enough that a few brands have been willing to sort of help me out with this build, so you're going to be seeing some parts from some pretty cool brands going on this build. So make sure you obviously follow the build, hit the like button, subscribe, and we will be going in depth with this thing finally. It's finally happening. Thanks for watching.
I don't know, I just woke up from a little nap. It's a little dark, but you guys silly? I'm still gonna send it.